The hidden chamber de Clan Foster came to the mountains to disappear. 3 years of combat trauma had left him hollow, seeking solitude in an abandoned cabin miles from civilization. The creaking floorboards and whistling wind through broken shutters became his only companions as he restored the derelict structure. On his 4th night, while reinforcing the kitchen floor, his boot punched through a rotted plank, revealing something metallic below. Curious, Declan pried away more boards, exposing what appeared to be a sealed hatch. The discovery sent his military instincts into overdrive. "This wasn't in the property records," he muttered, examining the strange symbols etched around its circular edge. After retrieving tools from his truck, Declan worked the hatch open. A soft, pneumatic hiss escaped as it unsealed, revealing a ladder descending into darkness. The faint glow of emergency lights pulsed below with his handgun drawn. Declan descended into a chamber that defied explanation. Sleek metallic walls lined with blinking equipment surrounded a central medical pod. Inside, something moved. "Who's there?" he called, weapon raised. The pod's transparent cover slid open. A figure emerged, humanoid but unmistakably alien. Tall, with iridescent blue skin marked by bioluminescent patterns and eyes like liquid amber. She wore a form-fitting armor suit, damaged along one side where a viscous purple fluid seeped from a wound. When she spotted Declan, she lunged with startling speed. Her hand extended toward a curved blade beside the pod. Declan fired a warning shot that ricocheted off the metal wall. "Stop!" he shouted. The alien froze, those amber eyes assessing him with predatory intelligence. Blood loss had clearly weakened her, but the coiled tension in her body suggested she could still strike with deadly precision. "I'm not your enemy," Declan said. Lowering his weapon slightly to his surprise, the alien responded in halting English. "Everyone. Enemy now." She staggered, the wound clearly taking its toll. Declan's medical training from the service kicked in. Despite his better judgment, he holstered his weapon and approached slowly. "I can help," he said, gesturing to her injury. The alien watched with wary eyes. "Why? Would human help?" "Because I've seen enough death," Declan replied simply. A silent understanding passed between them. With cautious movements, the alien allowed him to examine the wound, a clean energy weapon strike. Cauterized around the edges, but still seeping fluid. "Name?" Declan asked as he applied pressure to the wound. "Vasha," she replied, wincing. "Tactical scout, 7th Division." "Declan?" "Former combat medic." As he worked to stabilize her, Vasha's eyes drifted to a monitor on the wall. Symbols flashed urgently, meaning nothing to Declan, but clearly alarming his unexpected patient. "They found me," she whispered. "They're coming." Declan glanced between the alien and the hatch above. The peaceful isolation he'd sought had just become something far more complicated, a fragile trust morning. Light filtered through the cabin windows as Declan finished applying a synthetic graft to Vasha's wound. He'd brought her up from the underground chamber during the night, keeping one eye on the forest perimeter while treating her injury with his military med kit. "Your physiology is similar enough to work with," he explained, securing the bandage. "But I don't know how your immune system will respond." Vasha observed him with cautious curiosity. She sat rigidly on the edge of his bed, her posture betraying years of military discipline, despite her weakened state. The bioluminescent markings across her skin had dimmed, which Declan assumed wasn't a good sign. "Why help enemy combatant?" she asked, her English improving with each exchange. Declan shrugged. "Are we at war?" "Nobody told me." "Not yet," Vasha replied grimly. "My mission was reconnaissance. Learn human weaknesses before invasion. But I... ... She hesitated. ... I questioned orders." Declan passed her a canteen of water, which she examined before drinking. "So you're a deserter?" Her amber eyes flashed. "I am loyal to my people, not to corrupted commanders who seek glory through needless conquest." Outside, a branch snapped in the forest. Both soldiers tensed, instincts synchronized. Declan moved to the window while Vasha reached for her blade. "Deer," Declan whispered, spotting the animal. For now, they shared a knowing look. It wouldn't be deer for long. As dusk approached, Declan prepared a simple meal. Vasha studied him, preparing food with open fascination. "Your species shows care even to potential threats," she observed. "Not all of us," Declan replied, thinking of battlefields he'd rather forget. "But sometimes kindness is the only thing separating us from animals." Vasha touched her wound thoughtfully. "On my world, showing mercy is weakness. And how's that working out for your people?" Her silence was answer enough. Later, as they sat before the fireplace, Vasha revealed more about her mission. She carried classified intelligence about Earth's defenses, but had transmitted false data back to her command.
"Why risk everything?"
Declan asked. Vasha's gaze met his. "I saw children playing. Families. Like mine before the endless wars. Your world still has ... joy." Something in her voice stirred emotions Declan had buried after his last deployment. When their hands accidentally brushed while passing a cup of tea, neither pulled away immediately. The moment broke when Vasha suddenly stiffened. "They're here." Declan couldn't hear anything, but trusted her enhanced senses. He doused the fire and grabbed his rifle. "How many?" "Scout drones first. Then hunters. They track deserters relentlessly." Declan checked his ammunition with practiced efficiency. "Then we need to move. I know these mountains better than any alien hunter ever could." Vasha stood, testing her strength. Their eyes met in the darkness, a fragile trust forming between soldiers from different worlds. "Together, then," she said. The pursuers' dawn broke as Declan and Vasha crested the ridge overlooking the valley. They'd traveled through the night, following game trails only locals would know. Vasha moved with surprising agility despite her injury, adapting quickly to the unfamiliar terrain. "Your world has such abundance," she remarked, touching a fern with wonder. On her home planet, centuries of industrialization had left little wilderness. "It won't if your people invade," Declan replied, scanning the horizon with binoculars. 3 metallic objects hovered above his cabin in the distance, their design unmistakably alien.
"Vasha."
"Sentinel drones," Vasha explained. "They'll follow my bio-tracker signal." "You're being tracked?" Declan lowered the binoculars, tension evident in his voice. Vasha touched a faint scar at the base of her neck. "All scouts are implanted, but the signal weakens in mineral-rich environments." This explained Declan's next destination, the abandoned copper mine 2 miles north. As they traveled, their conversation deepened. Vasha described her world's caste system, how she'd risen through military ranks despite being born to the lower tiers. Declan shared his own struggles, the nightmares that still woke him screaming. "Combat changes you," he said as they rested briefly near a stream. Vasha nodded. "My people have a saying, war makes strangers of ourselves." When their fingers intertwined while crossing a fallen log, neither acknowledged it, but neither pulled away. By midday, they reached the mine entrance. The rusty gate hung open, warning signs faded by decades of mountain weather. As they ventured inside, the temperature dropped. Vasha's bioluminescent markings provided enough light to navigate the narrow passages. "The copper deposits should interfere with your tracker," Declan said, leading them deeper. "Temporarily," Vasha warned. "The hunters will eventually track us by other means." In a larger chamber, they established a makeshift camp. While Declan secured the perimeter, Vasha examined her wound. The synthetic graft was holding, but healing slower than her body normally would. When Declan returned, he found her struggling to reach a secondary wound on her back. Without words, he knelt behind her. His fingers gently applied medicinal paste to the laceration. Vasha's skin warmed beneath his touch, her markings pulsing brighter. "Your heart rate increases when we touch," she observed softly. Declan didn't deny it. "Does that happen among your kind?" Physical response to attraction is universal, it seems. Her amber eyes held his gaze. The intimate moment shattered as a distant rumble echoed through the mine. Both soldiers were instantly alert. "They've landed," Vasha whispered. Declan checked his rifle. "How many?" 3 hunters, minimum. Elite tracking unit, against 2 wounded soldiers. Declan's mouth curved into a grim smile. "I've faced worse odds." Vasha's hand found his in the dimness. On my world, we have a ritual before battle. Warriors who fight together share breath, so if one falls, part of them lives on in the other. Their faces drew closer in the bioluminescent glow. The kiss that followed transcended species. A moment of connection before the coming storm. Now we are bound, Vasha whispered against his lips. The mine entrance echoed with approaching footsteps. The sacrifice the hunters moved with mechanical precision through the mine tunnels. 3 tall figures in adaptive armor that absorbed light, rendering them near invisible except for faint silhouettes. They communicated through subvocal signals, tracking equipment humming softly as they advanced. Declan and Vasha retreated deeper, implementing the trap strategy they'd hastily devised. Years of combat experience from 2 different worlds merged into one desperate plan. Remember, Vasha whispered as they separated at a junction, their armor has a vulnerability at the neck joint. One precise strike? Declan nodded, squeezing her hand before disappearing down the left passage. The touch lingered, carrying meaning neither had voiced aloud. From his hidden position, Declan watched the first hunter approach. The alien moved like a predator, each step calculated. When it passed beneath the weakened support beam Declan had partially sawed through, he fired a single shot. The beam collapsed, trapping the hunter under timber and rock. One down, the other hunters immediately changed tactics, activating energy shields that hummed with deadly potential. Declan ducked as a blast superheated the rock where his head had been seconds before. Across the chamber, Vasha implemented her part of the plan. Using her knowledge of their tech, she activated her tracker at full power, creating a false signal that drew the second hunter toward a narrow passage rigged with Lebeslin's explosive trap. The detonation shook the mine. Rock dust filled the air, too. 2 down. The final hunter, clearly the leader, proved more cautious. It deployed miniature drones that scanned ahead, forcing Declan and Vasha to retreat toward the deepest part of the mine, the flooded lower level. We're running out of options, Declan said as they reached the underground pool. The hunters' footsteps echoing behind them, Vasha's expression turned resolute. There is one option. My tracker, if destroyed properly, creates an electromagnetic pulse. It would disable his systems temporarily. Declan's eyes widened as understanding dawned. That's suicide. You said the tracker is fused to your nervous system, not suicide. Sacrifice. Her amber eyes held his. My people conquer worlds. Yours nurtures them. The universe needs more nurturers, Declan. Before he could respond, the hunter appeared at the chamber entrance. In one fluid motion, Vasha pushed Declan into the water and turned to face her pursuer. As she triggered the failsafe on her tracker, she whispered, "Remember, our breath is shared." The explosion of light and energy knocked the hunter backward. Declan surfaced from the water with a desperate cry, swimming frantically to where Vasha had fallen. New Horizons blood. Too much blood. Declan worked frantically to stabilize Vasha, his medical training battling against alien physiology he barely understood. The hunter lay motionless nearby, systems fried by the electromagnetic pulse. Stay with me, Declan urged, applying pressure to the wound where Vasha had torn out her own tracker. Her bioluminescent markings flickered weakly, like dying stars, using everything in his medical kit plus components salvaged from the hunter's armor. Declan created a makeshift life support system. Hours blended together as he fought to keep her alive, refusing to accept defeat. When Vasha finally opened her eyes 3 days later, they were back in Declan's cabin. The underground chamber had been converted into a recovery room. Alien technology repurposed for healing rather than war. You should have left me, she whispered, voice barely audible. Declan shook his head, taking her hand. Not an option. Strength gradually returned. Vasha revealed what she'd learned from the hunter's communications before destroying her tracker. Her people believed her dead, the mission compromised. Earth had earned a temporary reprieve while her military reassessed. They will come eventually, she warned one evening as they sat watching sunset from the porch. Perhaps not for decades, but they will come. Declan considered this. Then we prepare. Share your knowledge with our leaders. Give humanity a fighting chance. It would make me betray my species completely? Pain flashed in her amber eyes. "Oh," Declan said softly. "I'm asking you to save two worlds instead of destroying one." Their hands intertwined, human and alien fingers creating a pattern as complex as their relationship. The physical attraction between them had deepened into something neither had expected. Understanding across an interstellar divide. When the communication pod hidden beneath the cabin activated weeks later, it offered Vasha a choice. A retrieval ship had received her final automated beacon. They would extract her, no questions asked. Standard protocol for deep cover operatives. Declan said nothing as she considered the message. Though the tightness in his jaw spoke volumes, that night, as they lay together under stars that seemed less distant than before, Vasha traced the scars on Declan's chest. "My world would execute me as a traitor," she said thoughtfully. "Yours would study me as a specimen," or Declan suggested. "We could disappear. There are places even governments can't find." Vasha smiled, her markings pulsing with the rhythm of her heart. A deserter and a recluse, building something new. Something worth fighting for, Declan agreed. When dawn broke, the retrieval coordinates received only an encrypted message. Mission compromised. Asset remains embedded for continued observation. As the transmission ended, Vasha joined Declan on the porch. Beyond the mountains, a world neither fully understood awaited them. Between stars and species, they had found something neither had been looking for, a loyalty that transcended worlds. "Ready?" Declan asked, offering his hand. Vasha took it, stepping forward into an uncertain future they would face together.